Welcome, everybody, to the Baloney podcast, where we are giving you strategies for winning at life. And we are your hosts, Sean and Lanette Reed. We are fired up to be here with you guys on a new episode. Today, we are talking about the secret substance to success. When I say success, I'm talking about fulfilling your purpose, being everything that God created and ordained for you to be, living life more abundantly. That is the definition of success.
You would be the one to have all those S's in one line. The secret sauce to success.
Okay, so what is it?
Say that 5 times fast.
The secret sauce is success. So for those of y'all who want to know what the secret is, we believe that it is grit.
Yep.
And so we're actually going to do 2 episodes on this. So this is going to be part 1, where we are talking about grit. So Lanette, I'm going to start with you. You don't have to be fancy, but what would your definition of grit be?
My definition of grit would be working hard and having an expectation of excellence at the same time, knowing that the favor of God rests.
That is actually really good. Y'all, she did that on the spot.
Yeah, and usually I need prep time.
Well, I mean, we've been kind of living that life for a long time.
I think if you pull back, like, underneath the Reeds, so this is just our family, right? Just our 5, Sean, Lanette, Brandon, Brianna, and Brittany, our 3 kids. So if you would just pull back and look on the inside of us, I think all of us have grit. We're gritty people. And so it really doesn't matter what the task is or what the assignment is. We're going to approach it with a very grit-like mindset.
Well, let's go back to what you were saying. So you said that you have an expectation of excellence, and yet you work hard,
right.
And then you have this mindset that also keeps in mind that you got the favor of God on your life. So that there's a lot to that real quick. So let's talk about the first part, which would be the work ethic. Like just the ability to work your butt off, even though circumstances probably don't look as favorable or we're not there yet, at whatever the promised land that we've imagined in our minds to be, a certain level of financial success or, whatever it is that you're trying to amass, a fire lifestyle where you, finish financial independence, retire early. Why did I forget? My brain just froze up on me. But if that's your goal and you want to get to a place to where you literally living off a return on investments, if that's you and you're not there yet, or you keep getting setbacks, then there's this tendency for some people to just be like, oh man, it'll never happen for me. I quit.
No.
And then there's others who just have that mindset of determination. They may get knocked down. Obviously, they get back up again and they persevere and they work hard.
Yep. That's us.
Okay, so take me back to what you saw that helped to form that mindset of determination, hard work ethic. We're formed by something. We're shaped. All of us are shaped by either the environment we came from or circumstances that we've gone through. So we're all in the process of spiritual formation, right? So we're being formed by something. So where did that come from in your life?
So I would have to say, much like what you said, most of us are formed by our environment. I would say mine was formed by my parents. I grew up 2-parent home. Both were entrepreneurs, and we weren't rolling in dough. So it wasn't like I saw my parents work hard and then I got everything that I wanted. It was the complete opposite. I saw my parents work really hard and they took care of the home and I had all of my needs.
That's everything you need.
But I didn't get everything that I wanted. So, but yeah, my mom was a beautician and my dad was a barber and a photographer. And so they owned the barber hair salon together, and they worked at for many, many, many years. And so I saw my parents.
Blue Silk in St. Louis.
Blue Silk hair design was the place to go to get your hair done. That's why you will never catch Lanette with a bad hair day. Come on now.
Come on. Now,
know how to do it.
What's amazing, we'll tell this on another episode, but Lanette and I, we didn't know it, but our our moms knew each other. Because of course my sister and sister used to get their hair done at her beauty shop. I didn't know it at the time. So it's a really cool story.
Don't want to tell it right now?
No. We'll come back to that later. Let's go back to, that'll be a dating episode. We'll have to talk about that during what to look for when you're trying to find a long-term love. Ooh, good title. All right. So back to you.
So I had to get up every single Saturday, 5:30 a.m. and go down to the shop with my parents and spend all day with them. And then there would be some Saturday nights when we would come home and they would allow me to count the money. And so I would actually see thousands of dollars over a period of months, like just see them working hard. Right. And so I just saw that. And
the thing is, like, anybody who's ever worked at a beauty salon, like, you on your feet, working hard, you got to hustle to get customers, you staying there late nights, especially those of y'all who don't know, white folk on the weekend, like, if you getting your hair done on the weekend,
especially back in
that mug was packed and it was freaking day.
It was an all day event.
It was all day. So like, that's hard work. And she did well.
Yeah, they did. They were really, really, they did well for themselves. And then even just over the years, watching my dad, because my dad did struggle a little bit in trying to find a steady job, because really the hair salon was my mom's baby, I guess you can say. And so even just seeing my dad not give up in trying to find a job and just persevering. And when he couldn't find a job in those moments, he would take care of the home. So I never saw them set.
Nor sitting around just being lazy.
Right. So life was hard, but I never saw them give up. And I think that was where my definition of grit was formed.
So what age did you start working at?
Technically 7. I had my first job, I think I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, at a floral shop that was literally right next door to my home. It was Carol's Corner, and it was a floral shop. And I used to go there after school every day and do some work for them.
Okay, so you've been working since 7
years old. But then I got my first for real job at Burlington Coat Factory. And I think I was like 15 years old.
Okay, so you ain't had no car?
Nope, I caught the bus every day after school. I would catch the bus in St. Louis and I would work from like 4 to 9, catch the bus, like the city bus, back home. And I got that check. I gave my tithe. I got my nails done and I bought an outfit every 2 weeks. And so I took care of myself. So by the time Sean saw me, there were standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's a working woman who was already taking care of herself. And so like, I think it's important to understand like where we come from, because my family, my dad, he worked his way up to being a captain of St. Louis County Jail. And I mean, he worked that job, over 30 years. And what I saw modeled in him was every single day. Yeah, that man, shoes shine, pants neat, creased, white shirt to the T. I mean, everything was just like, this man would get up, he was going to go to work, he was going to be back home at the same time. He was always going to do, his same routine. He provided for the family, and there were moments when I stayed with him, and then there was times where I stayed with my mom.
And your mom, I think you said at one point she was working and going to school.
Oh yeah, she was working almost. She was doing night school while she was furthering her degree. She was a registered nurse in St. Louis. She worked at Bourne's Jewish Hospital, where Brandon and Brianna were born. And she also, while both of those things was taking care of, several kids at the crib, and so I just saw her work her tail off just to give us, a roof over the head. And I won't lie, Mom, she was one who would spoil the heck out of you on Christmas. So she was that person that'll go above and beyond, buying a million gifts for us and stuff like that. But then times were still tough. So Christmas was a huge celebration, but then it was back to the grind.
Kind of like that peak and then a deep dive.
Yeah. So we had like excessive amounts of toys, and yet at the same time, it was still like she was grinding to take care of us, and she was grinding to try to give us a life that she had never had. Like my mom had come from a place of, I mean, both my mom and my dad, they came under the projects in St. Louis. It was called Pruitt-Igoe. And you can research Pruitt-Igoe and you can find out that it's an amazing history out at ghettos of St. Louis, and they worked their way out of the projects into better part of the inner city. And then they finally worked their way out into, the suburbs. And so I watched them grind to get us out. And so then when it came time for you and I, it was like a baby before we were leaving high school.
Yeah.
You were pregnant. We went to prom together, did both our proms.
Right.
Got married in September, and baby pops out in December. It was just like, all right, I have to.
Yeah, there was I feel like I didn't have an option. Right?
I never thought, number one, and I think that this is important, and I know this might sound kind of sensitive, but I mean, when you got pregnant, even though we were coming out of high school, I never thought to myself, like, to abort the child. You know what I'm saying? So, like, in my brain, I was like, I got a baby, regardless if we got married or not.
It was, I was going to, listen, if this is a new responsibility that I have to incur, let's do it.
Yeah. And it's like, that's where I feel like what you were saying about favor of God part is important, because it was like, we didn't have anything starting out.
I felt like you wanted an echo on that. Anything.
Like when I say nothing, we had nothing. A friend of ours, his name is Brian. He just went to be with the Lord, and he was part of a choir that we were in, and he was just a really great guy, and he actually helped me get one of my first jobs at UPS.
Yeah.
And in fact, I got the UPS job right when we were getting married, because I had the ring. I went into UPS with the ring on me, and they thought that I was stealing the ring. Next thing you know, I'm in the security box, and I had to like prove to them with a receipt that I actually bought it and wasn't stealing it. It was like, okay, stupid tech. Anyway, he got me that
ring back. He got the ring back.
Yeah. And so my thing was like, I had to work nights. I was making, I think it was like $10 an hour at that time to work in a UPS hub. I was driving like 35 minutes out from where I was working nights, but it was like, that's what it took to put bread on the table.
Right. And when times got harder, believe it or not, like you started doing things like labor ready.
Oh, hated labor ready. $5.50 an hour.
And that is almost, no, not almost. That is definitely like, you want to like demean someone.
But the thing is, they
talking about the pay.
They did what they did, and you can negotiate it, and you work different jobs. You can say no. But at that time, I didn't have anything. So I was like, I'll take whatever I can to get some more money, because if I'm making money doing something, it's better than doing nothing and sitting at home. I can say that there were some people that I knew, be it friends or people who part of my family that I saw that weren't going out working. I mean, they were sitting at home all day long, doing nothing, playing video games, eating.
Yeah.
Watching TV. It's just amazing to see, like, all of us, we came from the same place. We saw the same things. Our families, we recognized the same struggle. And it's interesting how some of y'all, you got that grit gene, and you unlock that joint when you're going through struggle, and yet you kind of watch other family members.
Like, how do we, are we born from the same woman?
Right. You from the same hood, you from the same, and yet you can end up in such a different space. And I don't say that from like a place of arrogance, but it just shows you the power of like how you observe and how you absorb.
Yeah.
And how we live out of our pain.
Yeah.
And some people, trauma, frustration, sometimes it's entitlement. And I think entitlement is one of the most dangerous things. So it's amazing how some people will live down to their pain. And in doing so, it's almost like a sense of entitlement will come on them where they think that they're owed something. And I think a lot of that happens, especially with the younger generation. And this ain't knocking some people who got grit and hustle. But what happens is like the parents were like us, we worked hard and we saw our parents struggle to get us where we are.
Yeah.
We had it a little bit better than them. Now for this next gen, they got it a whole lot better than what we had it.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, they're just blessed.
So it's like you're saying, nemesis, our arch nemesis to grit is entitlement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you won't work hard for what you think you just deserve. Like it's just supposed to be just freely given. And so my heart for everyone like listening is to say, like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna grind for what it is that I know I'm called to be. And working hard and working smart should go hand in hand. And I think sometimes you find that from my dad, I felt like it was hard work and it was smart work, but it was more linear in his day. Like during his time, it was like you work. You eventually will retire. You eventually get.
So the path was like well-defined.
Yeah.
And this is the way to do it. Whereas to right now, in our day, there's so many paths.
Dude, and you can get laid off and
okay, so many variables.
You commit to like a year and a half to a company and you get laid off. There's so many things that are, it's different that from his generation to my generation to their generation. Our kids are in a time where companies don't have loyalty to the people.
Yeah.
And now people don't want to be loyal to jobs. And so you can get cut at any moment. Then you have the rise of AI, blah, blah, blah. And it's just kind of like went to school to get a degree that you thought was going to produce, a life of, Now
that degree is useless.
Yeah, in some fields, because it's just like you literally can be replaced with technology. Mm-hmm. So it's not as linear. So what do? You can't just sit around and watch opportunity die and not get your butt up and create something else. Like there has to be something in you that says, if God put me in this generation, then I know I have gifts and talents and abilities to contribute to society.
Yeah.
And I think this is a key point with grit, if society shifts, the gift of God in me can adjust. When I think of Daniel and the Hebrews, they prospered in Babylon. It wasn't their home turf. It wasn't their culture, but God gave them a strategy.
Yeah.
Daniel 6:3, it says, then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and the princes and all the rest of the satraps because he had an excellent spirit in him. This goes to that excellence part you was talking about. Excellence is doing the best that you have, best that you can with the best of what you have. I'll say it again. Excellence is doing the best that you can with the best of what you have. It doesn't mean perfectionism. And so sometimes some of us don't do anything because we don't have the best of everything. It's like you won't shoot the videos that you should have been shooting a long time ago because you ain't got the best camera. Bro, usual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I would say anytime we got stuck back in the day or even now, right? So like if resources, and I'm not just talking about money, so just resources, period. If resources are low,
right,
and yet I still need to produce something, or I still need to work, or I still need to achieve the goal, my first thought is going to be, hey, God, you know where I am, have this much of whatever in my hand. All right, how can I be a good steward over it? And what can I do?
Yeah.
Right. So there's an acknowledgement of where I am. So I'm not in denial, right? I'm not out there trying to perpetrate and being something that I'm not. But at the same time, it's like the favor. I know God has given me favor, and I need to be able to tap into his insight, because his insight supersedes social status. It supersedes whatever our government is doing, whatever layoffs are taking place. And so there's always a leaning on him to say, okay, God, I need you to speak into this particular situation. This is what I have. Now bless it.
Hey, I can go through so many people. When you mention favor, because I know some people, they think of favor, it may be a different definition of what we have. So I say favor, I'm talking about God-given abilities that whatever gifts and talents we have come from God. Whatever intelligence you have is a gift from God. That's favor. Whatever skills you bring to your community, your society, to your family, that's favor. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Father above. And so I can't take credit for any inherent talent that we got from the gene pool, that we got from education. It's all a gift from God. These are graces from God, and we're supposed to work what we got. Going all the way back to Genesis, and I love Genesis, but Genesis 2, it says something that was so profound. The Bible says that a mist used to come up from the ground because there was no rain from the heavens, and the mist would just water the earth. It was like a temporary sprinkler system God had built into the earth. And it says that he had not allowed any of the seed that he had planted into the earth for bushes and shrubbery to grow because there was not yet anyone to till the ground.
Yep.
That is a very profound insight because it's saying that God held back increase till there was someone to steward the ground. So he's looking for managers of things that he's put in the earth to be unlocked. And he won't bless those things until he knows it'll prosper in someone's hands.
So good.
So somebody got to be able to say, okay, Lord, here I am.
Yeah.
Send me. I'll steward it. I'll put some work in. But then you got to be willing to take ownership of what your abilities are and what God has given you, as you said, in your hand. And you got to work what you got.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so that mindset has kind of, I want to say evolved, right? It wasn't the fullness of it back in the day. But we did have Grit 1.0. I think right now we got Grit 10.0.
Heck yeah.
And so that's a concept that we have instilled into our children.
I'll say because at that time, like I said, I watched my dad do his 9 to 5 and work overtime. I watched my mom, as RN, who was a traveling nurse at that during sometimes she worked in the hospital. Sometimes she was a traveling nurse. At one point, she had a major back surgery and she still was getting out, helping patients, driving across town to go see these people, and she had her hustle. She had plans. She would get paid for mileage, et cetera, et cetera. So my mom was working her off. But again, it was the way it looked was a very linear, hard journey for them to stay put and be excellent at their craft. And both of them did so. By the grace of God, they provided for me and my siblings. But like for us, the road it wasn't as linear, but the substance of what got them where they are was instilled in us to where we can't help ourselves, but to say on the shoulders of these giants, we cannot waste the opportunity, prosperity, responsibility that we have. We got to work our butts off to give our children's children a greater legacy than what our parents have started in us.
Well, I never saw, so my parents did not know how to run a business, right? They learned while going through everything. So we didn't get handouts.
Right. They didn't have online courses.
They didn't have online courses. They didn't have someone, walking them hand by hand saying, you need to fill out this paperwork and don't forget about taxes and employee taxes. Like they didn't know any of those things. And so we live in a time where all of that information is at the click of a button.
Yeah.
And so being able to combine the two, the natural grit with the resources at our fingertips, it's just kind of like, what do you, like if you're just sitting there waiting for someone to bless you or waiting for that fire, like the entitlement, it's like, dude, you will never begin to tap into what God has for you if you're just sitting waiting.
Yeah, to that point, a great thought, and I'll never forget this quote, but it's just, we have to eliminate excuses along with this cousin blame. We have to eliminate excuses along with this cousin blame. When you really want to thrive in life as the person that God created you to be, and you want to get to all that he has for you, you're rid of your freaking excuses. and blame. You can't be a wuss. You can't be some loser that's sitting around and sucking at life because you didn't take advantage of the gift and the graces, information, technology, just countless videos on YouTube. You got online information. You got all this stuff. What's your excuse for not stepping into saying, I'm going to live a life of meaning and purpose? I will be a light in this world, and I'm going to, in some way, I'm going to leave my mark on this world. That's something that I think that you and I, we both share because we have belief in our top 5. So everything that we do, it has to have meaning. We can't just live some life where it's but a vapor. It's a quick life. But in this time that we're going to live this life, we ain't going to have no excuses for not living out the purpose that God has given us.
You will know that Lanette Marie Reed was on this earth.
You hear me?
You will know. You will know the Reeds were here and we impacted everybody that we came in contact with. You will know that nothing held us back, that we weren't waiting on no man to help us do anything.
Right.
But you will also know that we heard God, we listened to God, and we obeyed God. That you will know.
Yeah. So we want to help you guys get to that level of acknowledging what God has put in your hands. And I do want to speak this to some people who maybe the household you grew up in, it wasn't perfect. None of ours was. But there was some good that you saw. And if nothing else, you survived. Even some of us who come from we have to cut this too. So for some of us who have come from a background where there's been, you survived some things. You come out of some. Don't waste your opportunity now. Everything will work together for your good for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. There is a purpose that you're called to in the kingdom of God, and don't allow anything, trauma from the past, pain in the present, naysayers, haters, whatever people said to you, the evil whispers from the enemy that have been echoing in your mind, all of that stuff. You got to have that grit that says, you know what? Like Joseph, I'm in a pit, falsely accused, own family threw me in a pit. Like it sucked for the last 17 years, but I had a dream. And that dream showed me that God was going to use my life to his greater good and his glory. And I'm going to keep believing. One day, God's going to empower you to come out of the pit and be into the palace, where God will prosper you in all the stuff that you learn over them years of you grinding and just working hard. All of that stuff is going to shape you into right kind of leader that God has called you to be when you get in the right position to reflect his glory on a higher level. So don't quit.
Yep.
The Bible would say, be not weary in well doing, because in due season you will reap if you faint not. Don't faint. Don't quit. You got to keep on grinding. I want to encourage everybody to make sure you all subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, share this thing, share it on social media, and we
rate it.
Yeah.
We really need you to rate it.
Yeah, please. We need them good stars, y'all. It helps to get this thing out. It's a small gesture, but it means a lot to us. If y'all could just rate it, leave a comment, let people know how this has been blessing you. And we want to encourage you guys in the show notes. You also have ways to connect with Lanette and myself. Sean and Lanette.com is the way to go. So we would love to connect with y'all in the future. Until next time, keep on grinding.